Situated on the banks of the River Volga in southwestern Russia, close to the border with Kazakhstan, Togliatti is the venue for round one of the 2017 FIM Ice Speedway World Championship. Temperatures in the week leading up to the event dipped as low as 23 degrees below zero. Ideal conditions for track preparation and a fitting way to start the series trips to the east. Winter in Russia, where even on a good day, temperatures can sit below zero. Not the ideal conditions for motorsport, you would think. At least until you discover the FIM Ice Speedway World Championship.
Vi jagar våran dröm om att bli mästare.
Ice Speedway bears only a passing resemblance to other motorsports. Like their Speedway cousins, these prototype machines are powered by 500cc methanol-burning single-cylinder engines, but it's over 300 spikes on the tyres that give the sport its unique look.
Beim Ice Speedway hat man immer 100% Traktion und da gibt es keinen Raum für Fehler.
Thanks to incredible levels of grip, riders can approach astonishing lean angles and sit almost horizontal on the ice, skimming its surface as they hit speeds of over 100 kilometers per hour around the bends. But that also means that the Gladiators are never far from disaster.
Vi kör på gränsen och vi tar risker.
Ice Speedway is only possible in extreme temperatures, so the FIM Ice Speedway Gladiators World Championship takes a tour of northern and northeastern Europe, and as the winter closes, the series comes to its climax in a purpose-built indoor venue that ushers in the summer and Ice Speedway's hibernation once again. In the meanwhile, 10 days of competition will create and shatter dreams of being the best in the world in 2017.
Wir sind jetzt zurück bei dem spektakulärsten Motorsport im Winter.
The Anatoly Stepanov Stadium returns to the individual calendar in 2017 after staging the team championship last year. The Mega Lada Club, who are based in the arena, celebrate their 50th anniversary this season, and with no less than 5 of their Super League riders taking part in proceedings at the opening round of the World Championship, a party atmosphere is guaranteed. A late change to the starting lineup for the 2017 series saw Harold Simon return at the expense of pre-season injury victim Stefan Pletschaka. Meanwhile, with the addition of wildcard Nikita Toloknov, Russian numbers were up to 6 for the opening round of the campaign. A strong quartet from Sweden and a total of 5 different nationalities represented in the list of permanent riders. Igor Kononov's 2017 season got off to a comfortable start as he lined up against 3 non-Russians in Heat 1 and duly took the race victory. Harold Simon and Hans Weber both made their returns to the series in the opening heat of the day, but neither could make any impression as Ove Ledstrom took second by a sizable margin. It was a generally unsuccessful day for Sweden's representatives, but Jimmy Olsen performed best of their quartet. He scored his total of 7 the hard way, picking off Max Niedermayer to tally the first points of his afternoon. Meanwhile, up front, series newcomer Dinar Valeev made an immediate impact with a surprise victory over Dmitry Koltakov. Franz Zorn's weekend was characterised by lightning starts that often put him into good positions. A jet-propelled getaway in Heat 3 helped him become the first European to beat a Russian rider. Although he was unable to keep back Daniil Ivanov for long, he held local wildcard Nikita Toloknov at bay for seconds. Günther Bauer also enjoyed a successful meeting, although he could have scored more had it not been for a mechanical failure on the final lap of Heat 4. Stefan Svensson inherited second at Bauer's expense after an opening lap pass on Jan Klotowski, who had a day to forget. A surprise defeat for Dmitry Koltakov and disappointment for Günther Bauer, but otherwise no great surprises in the opening round of heats. 5 non-scoring riders after the disqualification of Jan Klatowski for exceeding track limits in Heat 4. The second round of heats got underway with a comfortable victory for Dinar Valeev, and the race was behind the Russian over second. Günther Bauer stuck to his own line despite pressure from Ove Ledstrom on the inside of him, and the German secured his first points of the day after a mechanical retirement from his opening ride. The old master Stefan Svensson and series debutant Jimmy Olsen enjoyed an entertaining battle for national pride and an important consolation point behind Russian stars Igor Kononov and Nikita Toloknov in Heat 6. Svensson snatched the position on the top bend of the opening lap but rode defensively on the same bend a lap later, and Olsen fought his way through down the inside into lap 3. Svensson then prized his way back past going into the final lap, but a perfect cutback from Olsen on the final turn gave him the verdict. Again, the battle was at the back in Heat 7, with Dmitry Kometsevich streaking away from Franz Zorn for a second win up front. Harold Simon passed Max Niedermayer for third on lap 1, although the German remained close right to the flag. Hans Weber had a weekend to forget in Togliatti, which certainly wasn't helped by him missing practice. He managed just 1 point from 5 rides on the opening day, losing out to Jan Klatowski after an entertaining Heat 8 as the Czech took his first points of the day. Up front, Dmitry Koltskov took his first race victory at the expense of Danil Ivanov to move level with his old rival in the point standings. Three of the 6 Russian riders in the lineup remained unbeaten after 2 rides, but were all set to meet in Heat 10. Danil Ivanov and Dmitry Koltskov remained predictably in contention, with Franz Zorn and Ove Ledstrom the best performing Europeans in the opening round of heats. Franz Zorn took his first victory of the campaign with a stunning start from the outside gate in the All-European Heat 9. Jimmy Olsen moved level with fellow countryman Ove Ledstrom by getting the better of him in direct competition. The eagerly anticipated Heat 10 provided the expected standard of racing with battles front and back. None of the 3 previously unbeaten riders were able to take the checkered flag for a third time. Danil Ivanov holding off Dmitry Kometsevich for the win. And Igor Kononov suffered his only defeat of the day, with Dinar Valeev passing him for third in the latter stages. Niklas Svensson secured his first points of the day after a successful overtake in a father and son battle, with Stefan Svensson for second in Heat 11. Stefan's chances of a place in the semi-finals looked severely restricted after this defeat, as he sat on just 3 points from 3 rides. After a 6-heat gap between appearances, Günther Bauer returned to the inside start position and put in one of the best rides of the weekend. Overhauled on lap 1 by Nikita Toloknov, the wildcard having come from the back to lead, Bauer stalked his prey for 3 laps before striking in the closing stages. Toloknov showed his inexperience at World Championship level as he failed to defend against Bauer's inside attacks, running wide on the final 2 turns and enabling the former world number 2 to cut past and produce an exquisite block pass for a first victory of the weekend. Bauer's win moved him into the top 8 and alongside Nikita Toloknov on 5 points. With 1 defeat apiece, Koltakov, Ivanov and Kometsevich led the standings, with Dinar Valeev and Franz Zorn also in contention for the top qualifying positions. Daniil Ivanov booked his place in the semi-final stages with his 3rd victory of the afternoon in Heat 13, while behind him Ove Ledstrom's day took a turn for the worst with the first of 2 consecutive last places. He was surprised by an inside move from Max Niedermayer on lap 3, the German picking up points in each of his back-to-back 3rd and 4th outings. Franz Zorn was away well in Heat 14 once again in his 2nd consecutive ride from the outside gate, but he was unable to resist either Igor Kononov or Dmitry Koltakov, who quickly assumed the top 2 positions. Kononov returned to winning ways with a 3rd success, Koltakov suffering only his 2nd defeat of the day, but booking his place in the semi-finals with a ride to spare. Veterans Harold Simon and Jan Klotowski had just 3 points between them coming into Heat 15 and fought for the single point as if their season depended on it. Nikita Toloknov and Dinar Valeev were long gone after a lap 1 squabble, but Simon and Klotowski exchanged positions 3 times before the Austrian finally secured the place. Niklas Svensson looked set to provide an upset and take a step towards the semi-finals as he led Dmitry Kometsevich from the start in Heat 16. Kometsevich had lost ground passing Jimmy Olsen for 2nd on the opening lap, and Svensson was setting a good pace out in front, but all of his hard work was undone when he got it wrong off turn 2. Niklas was already on his father's spare after an earlier mechanical failure, and he withdrew from the remainder of the meeting after his inevitable disqualification. Dmitry Kometsevich didn't seem too greatly affected by the crash as he took victory in the rerun, but Jimmy Olsen did well to keep pace with the reigning champion with his best ride of the day in 2nd. An on-scoring ride for Günther Bauer in Heat 14 dropped him out of the top 8, with Jimmy Olsen moving into the provisional qualification zone at his expense. The 5 leading Russians were now secure in their semi-final positions with a ride to spare. Dmitry Kometsevich made the start in Heat 17 and looked set to secure first gate choice for his semi-final until Dmitry Koltakov stretched through down the inside into turn 1 and powered away to victory. Koltakov's move left room for Ove Ledstrom to challenge for 2nd, although the Swede went from 2nd to 4th in the space of 2 turns, but he got it wrong into lap 2 and Nikita Toloknov salvaged a point. 2015 Togliatti reserve Mikhail Litvinov got his first call-up of the weekend in Heat 18 as a replacement for Niklas Svensson. Coming in cold, the 20-year-old certainly had the speed to live with the series regulars, but lacked the confidence to make an inside pass for 3rd. Daniil Ivanov earned himself top spot in the Heat standings with victory in Heat 19, but it was a race in which he was forced to work harder than expected by an inspired Günther Bauer. The German put in another good ride, surprising Ivanov with an inside pass at the end of lap 1 and holding on until lap 3 when the former world champion finally found a way back past. A spectacular Heat 20 provided the perfect climax to the Heat stages. Stefan Svensson needed a race win to secure passage to the semi-finals at the expense of Günther Bauer, and he fought hard around the inside of the opening lap to become the surprise lap 1 leader. Franz Zorn then seized the advantage, cutting past Dinar Valeev and Stefan Svensson on successive bends. The remainder of the race was a stunning exhibition of passing and repassing, Svensson and Valeev exchanging positions twice on lap 3 and twice again on lap 4 before the Russian finally came out on top. Valeev showing all the signs of a future champion with great determination and overtaking ability. The 21-year-old had certainly made an impression in his first appearance. Thanks to his impressive Heat 12 victory, Gunther Bauer snatched the last qualification position on countback against Jimmy Olsen. And with Stefan Svensson a point further back, the semi-finals got underway without a Swedish representative for the first time in 2 years. The wildcard and the debutant take on two of the biggest names in the Ice Speedway World Championship in semi-final one. Off the inside gate in red, it's Daniil Ivanov, top scorer during the heat stages, last a winner here back in 2013. Gate 2 in blue, Igor Kononov, something of a track specialist here in Togliatti, beaten just once over 2 days in 2014. Dinar Valeev off gate 3 in white, a semi-finalist in his first ever World Championship appearance. Nikita Toloknov, the wildcard, returning to the semi-finals off the outside gate. It's Kononov who's made the start. A solid 12 points from 4 rides in the heat stages for him, and he leads the way. An error there coming off the second turn from Dinar Valeev as he runs wide. Now chasing Daniil Ivanov for the all-important second qualification position. Remember, just the top 2 can move through to the grand final. At the moment, it's Dinar Valeev and Nikita Toloknov, who started off the outside gates, who are set to miss out. Daniil Ivanov challenging for the race lead down the inside last time around into bends 1 and 2. He's dropped back slightly further than that since then, and Igor Kononov is building up a good line on his favoured outside run, making himself vulnerable to attack, but he seems to have the pace to live with both Ivanov in second and, more importantly, Valeev back in third. Ivanov has gained a bit of ground over the last lap or so. Challenges once again off turn number 2. Valeev is nowhere compared to the front 2, and it looks as though we have our duo who are going to make it through to the final. It's Igor Kononov and Daniil Ivanov in that order, with Dinar Valeev on the pace back in third position, and Nikita Toloknov not up with the front runners and really not able to challenge for a place in the final. It's Kononov and Ivanov who march on from semi-final 1. On paper, at least the weaker of these two semi-finals in the lower order, and you would expect to see Dmitry Koltakov and Dmitry Komitsevich move through from semi-final 2. Getting underway with the second semi-final then. A good start from Franz Zorn off gate 3. He takes the whole shot, but up the inside of him comes Dmitry Koltakov, the Russian thrusting him aside, and Komitsevich also moves through. So Franz Zorn relegated to third position then. Gunther Bauer just nowhere on the first 2 turns. Is having to work hard now from fourth position, and his battle surely will be only against Franz Zorn now for the third place. Out in front, meanwhile, it's a similar pattern to what we saw first time out, with the 2 favourites and highest qualifying seeds to the semi-finals out in front. Dmitry Koltakov in second place behind Dmitry Komitsevich. The pair were separated by a point in the World Championship last year. Could only be divided by a runoff in the 2017 Russian Championship, and once again they're closely matched here in Togliatti. Koltakov inside and moving to block. Komitsevich cutting back down the inside, drilling the move into turn number 3. They come out of the final 2 turns for the final time, and it's Komitsevich who takes the win. Good racing in particular on the last lap there. Koltakov tried the inside move. Komitsevich repaid the compliment, and it's both Komitsevich and Koltakov, the top 2 in the championship from last year, who will march on to the final here in Togliatti. The top 4 in the world from 2016 meet once again in the first final of the 2017 season. No great surprises in the semi-final stages. Off the inside gate in red, Dmitry Komitsevich, joint points leader with Daniil Ivanov coming into the final. Gate 2 in blue, Igor Kononov, winner of semi-final 1, defeated in just 1 of his 6 rides so far. Gate 3 in white, Daniil Ivanov, vulnerable from the start in the first semi-final. He can't afford to make that mistake again here. His only defeat in the heats came from gate 3, which is where he lines up in this one. The outside gate is with Dmitry Koltakov, the 2017 Russian champion. The 4 finalists are separated by just 1 point coming into this one, so the winner here will also be the championship leader after the opening day of the campaign. The first final of 2017 gets underway. A very level break. It's Kononov who's missed it. It's Komitsevic who gets there first, with Ivanov tracking him in second before he slips to the back. Two riders bundling past down the inside. It's Dmitry Komitsevic making inside progress. Igor Kononov switches straight back up to his favoured outside line, and a block pass from Dmitry Koltykov sees him through. And now he's made his way past down the inside of Dmitry Komitsevic, surprising the initial race leader coming off the second bend. The reigning champion challenging once again around the outside, but Koltykov blocks him out down the home straight. Komitsevic had the lead and he made himself vulnerable running wide. And Kononov's doing the same thing further back. Daniil Ivanov strikes for third position. So plenty of change among the riders in this grand final since the start, because it was the rider in the blue helmet colour who'd made a frantic start, and since then he's dropped back. Daniil Ivanov challenging, but he's too far back from the front too. And it's going to be Dmitry Koltykov from the outside gate who works his way through the field to win in Togliatti. Back in top spot, Dmitry Koltykov. Celebrations from the 2017 Russian champion as he takes his first steps in the 2017 World Championship. Separated by just a point in the 2016 campaign, Dmitry Koltykov and Dmitry Komitsevic renewed their rivalry and would head into the second day of the 2017 series tied on points, with Daniil Ivanov just a point in arrears. I'm really satisfied with my results, as we have all scored very similarly. It's a good result for the first day compared with last year.
Для меня первый это намного лучше, чем прошлые года этот результат.
My fall in Heat 16 gave me some problems, but otherwise I'm satisfied with my result, and I will do my best for another good result tomorrow.
Это соревнование, я не могу это исключить. Не знаю, если знаешь, где упадет, там постелить можно ковер и помягче падать.
It was a difficult day for me because I had some technical problems in my first three rides. After that, I changed my setup and things got better. There was plenty of contact in my fights with Komitsevic, and I had to battle hard to get this win.
3
world champions separated by 1 point at the top of the standings, with Igor Kononov also in touch. But the last winner of 2016 becomes the first winner of the new season, as Dmitry Koltykov takes to the top step of the podium. A total of 15 riders from 5 different nationalities will contest every round of the 2017 FIM Ice Speedway World Championship. The new lineup has been formed by Gladiators' progression through pre-season qualifiers, by the seeding of the reigning world champion, and the nomination of the final 2 riders to complete the field. But the real favourites are the leading riders from last season's rankings. The top quartet in the FIM Ice Speedway World Championship has been unchanged over the last 3 seasons, an unprecedented period of domination that has seen not one permanent Russian rider beaten in the championship standings. Igor Kononov is the only one of the 4 not to have taken a title in that spell, having finished 4th in each of the last 3 seasons. I feel that the top 4 riders are all at the same level, but last year in the Netherlands I suffered a fall that impacted my scoring. I know what my weaknesses are and I will deal with them. It's a new season and everyone starts equal. Since Nikolai Krasnikov's retirement in 2012 at the end of an 8-season period of dominance, there have been 3 different world champions. Daniil Ivanov was the first in 2013, but he's struggled to recapture his best form since then. No sportsman can finish first every season, but this is the World Championship, so it's very important to me to take first place. All of my equipment is in the best condition, so the only thing I can continue to work on is my own riding. After snatching his first world crown in 2015, Dmitry Koltykov was pipped by just a point in the title race last year. Koltykov left it until the last day of the season to take his first final victory, and by then his rival had one hand on the trophy. It's one thing to claim the title, but it's another thing to defend it. Of course, it was very difficult. But I only lost out last year by 1 point, and I'm ready to fight again this year. We've made some technical improvements, and I have tried to improve my riding style, so I hope to win more finals this season. Making the final at every round and taking 4 victories, Dmitry Kometsevich secured his first world title in 2016 after so many seasons as the sport's nearly man. Having made the jump from 3rd to 1st in the world rankings, he hopes to stay there for as long as possible. It's a new season and a new start. I don't think about my title or have any specific aims within the sport. At this level, it's very difficult, so the first aim is to make the semi-final, and then it's difficult to make the final against so many strong riders. But of course, the target remains first place. The opening day of the World Championship was a struggle for Sweden's representatives, and particularly Niklas Svensson, who suffered a mechanical failure and exclusion before withdrawal from the action.
I
had the lead for 2.5 laps, but coming off bend 2, the bike jumped underneath me and sent me into a high side. Kometsevich hit the bike and that broke the axles, the front forks and the front wheels. That's all fixed for today, and I feel a bit stiff in my body, but I should be okay. Günther Bauer, meanwhile, had a more successful day with 3 good battles with Russian riders in the heats. I was very happy with my result because I haven't made the semi-final in Russia for a long time. In my first race, I felt really fast and ready to race Kometsevich for first position, but after 2 laps I heard a bit of a problem developing with the engine. I tried to back off, but the pin from the conrod was broken and the engine was completely destroyed. So now I'm on my reserve engine, which is going to have to hold on for a lot of races. Heavy snow made visibility a challenge for the riders in the early heats and also heaped uneven layers of material across the ice surface. A difficult weekend for Sweden's representatives continued in the opening round of heats on day 2, with only one of their number taking a top 2 finish first time out. Jimmy Olsen was surprisingly stuck at the back in Heat 1. Harold Simon capitalising on contact between Olsen and Nikita Toloknov as the Russian came through for second behind Dmitry Koltakov. Dmitry Kometsevich matched his 2016 rival's score with victory of his own in Heat 2, with Daniil Ivanov unable to strike after a fruitless opening lap challenge. Ove Ledstrom made a strong start in Heat 3, but found himself at the back within a lap as the difficult weekend continued for the Swede, who failed to score on the second day in Togliatti. Ahead of him, Günther Bauer struggled to make up ground after missing out from the outside gate, and the German only really reached the tail of Stefan Svensson on the final lap, too late to find a way through. Dina Valeev became the 3rd consecutive Russian winner with victory in Heat 4, but Franz Zorn had to work harder behind him to get second. An excellent cutback from Niklas Svensson off turn 2 gave him the position early on, but Zorn swept through at the end of lap 1 and never looked troubled from there.
Встречайте, Дина Валеев, Франц Зорн, Николас Свенсон.
A familiar look to the top 8, with Stefan Svensson back inside the provisional qualification positions alongside Franz Zorn on 2 points from their opening ride. Dmitry Koltakov and Dmitry Kometsevich opened their championship lead over Daniil Ivanov to 2 after the opening round of heats in Togliatti. Stefan Svensson's strong early progress continued with a useful runner-up position in Heat 5, but he missed out on victory in what turned out to be a pivotal moment in deciding the last of the semi-finalists. Niklas Svensson put in a brilliant ride to pick off Harold Simon at the start of the second lap, then going off in pursuit of his father before making a bold outside pass on lap 3.
Ведет за собой преследователей, правда, тут как тут нарисовался Никлас Свенсен. Прикрывает своего земляка в позиции и даже пытается по внешнему радиусу прорваться вперед. Но здесь-то нужно быть как-то поосторожней. И тем не менее, Speedway есть Speedway и на финишной.
Igor Kononov remained unbeaten after his second ride, but the battle in Heat 6 was behind him and over second place. Max Niedermayer capitalised on his inside advantage to get the better of Jimmy Olsen around the first turn, but it wasn't long before the Swede cut his way through for his first points of the day. Dmitry Koltakov was forced to work hard for his points in Heat 7, trapped wide on the first bend from the outside gate and stuck at the back initially. Ove Ledstrom was his first victim, the youngster losing out around the pits turn, and Koltakov then set off in pursuit of Danil Ivanov. While the home track rider was held back by race leader Dinar Valeev, Koltakov gained ground on the pair and finally overhauled Ivanov on the penultimate lap. Dmitry Kometsevich overhauled Dmitry Koltakov in the point standings and joined Igor Kononov and Dinar Valeev as unbeaten riders after 2 rounds of heats. The reigning champion recorded a comfortable race victory ahead of Nikita Toloknov, the wildcard getting the better of Franz Zorn for second at the end of the opening lap.
Никите ни в коем случае нельзя расслабляться. Финиш! Дмитрий Kometsevich.
Danil Ivanov dropped to the lower reaches of the top 8 after defeats at the hands of 3 Russian riders in his first 2 rides, but could look forward to easier lineups in his final 2 outings. Meanwhile, the 3 unbeaten riders were not programmed to meet until Heat 20 and hoped to continue their maximum run in round 3 of the heats. After failing to score in his opening 2 rides, Ove Ledstrom seemed set to reignite his semi-final hopes as he impressively led Franz Zorn from the outside gate in Heat 9. The Austrian had been held back by Jan Klutowski on the opening 2 turns, but even when released he struggled to keep pace with the young Swede. Ledstrom though skirted closer and closer to the track limits, eventually coming down in a bundle of hay bales and with a thud on the ice. Positions were unchanged in the restaging until Harold Simon made a lap 3 challenge on Jan Klutowski, in the process recording his best finish of the weekend. Günter Bauer recorded his first top 2 finish of the day, but Dinar Valeev maintained his winning run up front in Heat 10. And Valeev held the meeting lead when the previously unbeaten Dmitry Kometsevich and Igor Kononov dropped points over the next 2 races. Kometsevich gave Heat 11 his absolute best as he fought to hunt down Dmitry Koltakov, but he was caught out by a rut on the final 2 turns that spat him off the bike and out of the point-scoring positions altogether. Danil Ivanov finally took his first heat victory of the day, and impressively so at the expense of the previously unbeaten Igor Kononov. Meanwhile, further down the order, Niklas Svensson suffered his first non-scoring ride of the day. The Swede was overhauled by Nikita Toloknov on lap 2, and then went on to a late race fall. Niklas Svensson's Heat 12 defeat dropped him out of the top 8, with Stefan Svensson moving up into the provisional qualification positions at his expense.
Max Niedermayer,
Daniil Ivanov returned to the track for a second ride in succession and made light work of victory in Heat 13. Günter Bauer was unable to replicate his surprise attack on the former world champion from day one, but another 2 points bagged for him kept him in the hunt for a semi-final place. Meanwhile, at the back, Harold Simmons' frustrating weekend ended on a sour note as he crashed out from third and was then withdrawn from the remainder of the meeting. After his Heat 11 fall, Dmitry Kometsevich returned to winning ways in Heat 14. But the battle to secure enough points for semi-final progression continued in the lower order between Jimmy Olsen and Niklas Svensson, who continued to prove evenly matched. Igor Kononov secured his place in the semi-finals with a hard-fought second position in Heat 15. Franz Zorn did well to hold Kononov back until lap 3, but eventually had to settle for third. With a third victory in 4 rides, meanwhile, Dmitry Koltukov had his top 8 place guaranteed with a heat to spare. With just 2 points from 3 rides, Jan Klatowski needed a dramatic turnaround to make the semi-finals, but instead he suffered disappointment with a first bend clash in Heat 16 and a fall in his 5th and final ride. Stefan Svensson had taken advantage of a tight first bend to snatch second and was in line for yet another runner-up position behind youngster Dinar Valeev until wildcard Nikita Toloknov prized his way past to the delight of the home crowd. Svensson nonetheless remained inside the qualification positions ahead of the final round of heats with a 2-point margin over the chasing pack. A surprise name at the top of the standings with Dinar Valeev impressing on his second day as a World Championship rider. Wildcard Nikita Toloknov took his first race win of the day in Heat 17, much to the delight of the home faithful. Starting seems to be his main weakness at the fledgling stage of his career, and he won't want to work as hard as he did in Togliatti in future appearances. Max Niedermayer continued to be more involved in the action than his final points total would suggest, and he took second ahead of reserve substitution Mikhail Litvinov, who secured his first World Championship points as a replacement for the injured Ove Ledstrom. Daniil Ivanov continued to build his momentum ahead of the semi-finals with a third successive victory, as he took a tapes-to-flag success in Heat 18. But Stefan Svensson left himself sweating on the results of the remaining heats, as he suffered his first non-scoring ride, losing out in a lap 2 scrap with fellow countryman Jimmy Olsen. That left Günter Bauer and Niklas Svensson fighting over second position in Heat 19 to overhaul Stefan Svensson in the standings and take the last of the semi-final spaces. The first duel between the pair was interrupted by a fall for Jan Klatowski. And in the rerun, it was Bauer who held the place for the first half of the race, but he looked over his shoulder as the youngster gained on him before forcing his way down the inside into the final lap. And All-Russian Heat 20 was a fitting precursor to the semi-finals, with 3 of the top 4 in the points coming into the 5th round of heats going head-to-head. Dinar Valeev came into the race unbeaten, but lost out in wheel-to-wheel combat, leaving too much room on the exit of turn 4 as he tried to keep up his speed. Dmitry Kometsevich was the first rider to find a way through on his way to a 4th victory in 5 rides, and Igor Kononov followed in the same place a lap later, denying Valeev the top spot in the heat that he'd held since the opening round. Valeev nonetheless qualified as first seed to the second semi-final, with Dmitry Koltukov topping the scorers and moving on to semi-final 1. Niklas Svensson took the final qualification position on countback against his father Stefan Svensson. Home riders Danil Ivanov and Nikita Toloknov carry the support of the Togliatti crowd into semi-final 1 as they line up off gates 2 and 3 respectively here. The favourites for progression line up off the inside start positions. 2015 world champion Dmitry Koltakov off the inside gate. 2013 and 2014 world champion Danil Ivanov off gate 2. Wildcard Nikita Toloknov off gate 3 in white. He set a personal best score of 10 points in the heat, yet to make it out of the semi-finals in 3 World Championship appearances. The outside gate is with Franz Zorn, Western Europe's best hope, the winner of Heat 9. Reminder of the lineup then: Koltakov off 1, Ivanov off 2, Toloknov off 3 and Zorn off the outside. Semi-final 1 gets underway. Fast start from the outside from Franz Zorn. Once again it's the Austrian who takes the whole shot. Dmitry Koltakov finds his way through down the inside off the second bend. And Zorn will now come under attack, you expect, from Danil Ivanov. Ivanov, though, all out of shape at the end of the opening lap, and look at the margin he's got to make up now on Franz Zorn, who sits second. Nikita Toloknov once again at the back. He's never finished in a top 3 place in the semi-final stages, and that record looks set to continue. But the real story of this first semi-final is Franz Zorn of Austria, who sits second and well clear here of Danil Ivanov. The former world champion just doesn't seem to have the pace to gain in, lost ground from the opening lap, and in fact, if anything, it's Franz Zorn who's making progress and building a buffer now from second to third. The top 2 positions, all important, of course, in terms of determining progression to the final, and it's going to be Dmitry Koltakov and Franz Zorn who qualify for the final. That's a major surprise in the first semi as Danil Ivanov bows out earlier than he would have expected in the competition, and without making the final with that extra opportunity for point scoring. Koltakov and Zorn progress. Ivanov surprisingly eliminated from semi-final 1. After a superb heat performance, Dinar Valeev lines up off the inside gate against the reigning world champion, bidding for his first shot at the podium places. Gate 2 in blue, it's Dmitry Komitsevich, faultless aside from his heat 11-4. Igor Kononov, gate 3, 3 successive defeats coming into this one. Gate 4, Niklas Svensson, the outsider who battled hard just to make the semi-final stage. Valeev, Komitsevich, Kononov and Svensson for semi-final 2. Good break off gate 3 from Kononov. It's Kononov who gets there first, but it's Komitsevich who has the inside line and moves Kononov aside. Komitsevich in front then, Kononov in second. Third place is with Valeev, one of the top performers from the heat, set to bow out as things stand. But Kononov goes straight up to his favoured outside line, and Valeev takes the inside route to move through into second. So many times we've seen over the years Kononov making that error, but he might get a second reprieve here because the red lights are on. A stoppage for a fall for Niklas Svensson, and it'll be a rerun with 3 riders only in semi-final 2. Here we go again then for the rerun of semi-final 2. Valeev, Komitsevich and Kononov, and this time it's Komitsevich who's made the start. Valeev there in second place, but Kononov has cut back to the inside superbly. Carries his momentum straight up to the outside on the pits turn, and that's going to give Komitsevich the run with a cutback off turn number 4. Kononov now going defensive down to the inside. He seems to have learnt from his error in the initial staging, but he's still left too much room coming off turn 2, and Valeev drills a move through. Dinar Valeev set for his first grand final space, although he bobbles there going into turn number 1. Must be feeling the pressure from Igor Kononov behind in third position. The battle's for second. Dmitry Komitsevich is clear out in front heading into the final lap. Can Igor Kononov mount an assault on this final lap? He looks to the inside coming off turn 2. Valeev all out of shape once again, but close to the tail of Dmitry Komitsevich. Kononov locking it back to the curb, but it's Valeev who progresses through at his expense. So 2 surprises in the semi-finals. Ivanov bowing out in semi-final 1, and Kononov eliminated from semi-final 2. It's Komitsevich who takes the checkered flag. Valeev in second to make progress to his first grand final. Kononov and Svensson eliminated from semi-final 2.
На нашей умопомрачительной, сугробной.
Franz Zorn takes a third successive ride from the outside gate as he bids to become the first European into the top 3 since his own podium exploits in 2015. Off the inside gate in red, Dmitry Koltukov, yesterday's winner and current championship leader. Gate 2 in blue, Dmitry Komitsevich, beaten by Koltukov back in Heat 11, otherwise undefeated. Dinar Valeev off gate 3, the 21-year-old has already had a successful day. Can he crown it with a podium? A rare place in the final for Franz Zorn off the outside gate. He could be a threat here, the Austrian, if he can make the start from that gate 4 once again. Igor Kononov and Daniil Ivanov will be watching on in envy here as Koltukov and Komitsevich have a real opportunity to open a buffer to the pair. A reminder of the lineup then. Koltukov off 1, Komitsevich off 2, Valeev off 3, Zorn off the outside, the surprise qualifier. For the second final of the weekend here in Togliatti, and Zorn has made another flying start. It's Franz Zorn who hits the front. Koltukov standing it up around the first 2 turns, holds up Dinar Valeev, and that's enabled Dmitry Komitsevich to attack for the lead. He passes Franz Zorn on the top turn at the end of lap number 1. Zorn still going backwards, through up the inside comes Koltukov. Now Valeev pressing the advantage home to move into a podium position. Well, Zorn for a moment looks set to be Western Europe's hero there, but now the race is over second position. Behind Dmitry Komitsevich is Dmitry Koltukov, who has the pace and seems to have emerged clear now over Dinar Valeev, who seems to be hitting every rut possible as he goes around the inside run. Komitsevich settling it down here. Dmitry Koltukov in second position. A mistake from Komitsevich. Koltukov now within a bike's length. Right on his tail. These two, the top 2 last season, who contested the first final yesterday, contesting the second final. But this time it's Dmitry Komitsevich who takes the checkered flag. Honours shared between Koltukov and Komitsevich in the opening weekend of the 2017 campaign. And it's Dinar Valeev who takes his first ever podium at the expense of the Austrian Franz Zorn. But what a day it's been nonetheless for Franz Zorn. Just to make it into the final, a massive achievement, and he made the start superbly as well before first Komitsevich and then Koltukov and Valeev also cut their way through. Dmitry Komitsevich makes back a point on Dmitry Koltukov in the final after losing 3 to his main rival when they met in Heat 11. And with neither Kononov nor Ivanov making the final, both extend their advantage over the chasing pack in the World Championship.
2 points go to Franz Zorn. И 1 очко, 1 point go.
I was quite stressed really because it was my first time in the World Championship, but I did my best to compete with the top riders here. Everybody is so incredibly strong, so I'm really happy with this 3rd position.
Получается, с мировыми выступать начал. Для меня первый раз как бы немного жутковато это.
Even though I didn't win, today was probably a more successful day even than yesterday because I scored a lot of points. I lost the final really because I couldn't make it to the first bend first. But anyway, the meeting was wonderful and it's only the beginning of the championship.
Я набрал больше всего баллов, но это очень хорошо и лидирую по чемпионату, впереди еще много этапов.
Я очень рад победе сегодня.
I'm pretty happy, but I am disappointed with my mistake and fall in Heat 11, which cost me 2 points. Overall, I'm pleased with how everything worked this weekend and with my victory.
Перед уходит, ногу зажимает, я его не могу мотоцикл поднять, остался 1 поворот и падение, минус 2 очка. Как бы, ну так, в принципе, все хорошо, я рад.
3 distinct groups formed in the championship standings over the weekend in Togliatti. A battle for net 7th position, led by veterans Bauer and Svensson. A battle for 3rd, with 3 Russian riders separated by 2 points. And Dmitry Komitsevich and Dmitry Koltukov, the only riders consistent throughout the weekend, who share the spoils in the opening 2 meetings.